some people to show up. I know it's 11 o'clock, but we had, I think, 370 people sign up for this. So we're going to give it just a few more minutes and see if some more people show up, and then we will formally begin. All right, we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our event today, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. This is an online seminar, and we will be discussing the ever-mysterious Autodesk 360, which is Autodesk cloud-based platform and services. My name is Scott Barton. I'll be the moderator for today's webinar, and I'm an account executive here at Microsol Resources in New York. I specialize in offering Autodesk solutions for the architecture, design, and construction industry here in New York City. I help client companies manage their software assets and make sure they get the most appropriate and economical software tools for their specific design and production workflow. With me today is Lynn Allen, Catalyst columnist and Autodesk technical evangelist. Lynn speaks to more than 30,000 users worldwide each year. For the past 18 years, she's written a monthly column in Catalyst magazine called Circles and Lines, and is the voice behind the popular Catalyst videos, Tips and Tricks with Lynn Allen. Lynn started with using Autocad software with release 1.4 over 20 years ago, and taught at the corporate and collegiate level for 13 years before joining Autodesk. She's a sought-after public speaker and a unique comic style with her webinars and seminars. Lynn is always one of the most highly rated speakers and the host of Autodesk University. She is also the author of 3 AutoCAD books, the latest of which is entitled AutoCAD Professional Tips and Techniques. So I'm going to try to keep this fairly short. I know a lot of you who attend our webinars fairly regularly probably hear the same spiel every single time. So there are a few things, though, I want to mention this time that will be new for us, so we're a little excited about it. To tell you a little bit about us as a company, Microsol Resources has been in business for over 27 years as an Autodesk reseller, and we're primarily focused on the AEC industry. In fact, many of our employees, including myself, an architect originally, are directly from the industry. And in the last year or two, we've really reached a couple of big milestones for us that are worth mentioning. Last year, we were actually awarded with the title of Autodesk Platinum Partner. Currently, we're the only Platinum Partner headquartered here in New York City. And the Autodesk Platinum Partner designates really that we've really done a significant investment in consulting and development services, also demonstrating an ability to deliver the highest level of support and solution expertise and services and customer satisfaction. Then the icing on the cake for us recently was that Autodesk actually announced that Microsol Resources was their Partner of the Year this year. We're extremely excited about this, and to run the risk of sounding cliche, it really was a team effort. I do believe that it really shows how strongly we are focused on providing our customers with the highest level of support and service. Next, to let you know that we don't only just sell the software, but we also provide services and training for the CAD and BIM training to become proficient in using BIM. We provide the training to help you out and your staff to become more proficient in any of the Autodesk applications at our authorized training centers here in New York and in Philadelphia. We also have architects and engineers, as I mentioned before, on staff as trainers, and our courses are registered through the AIA and PDH learning units are available for architects and engineers. If your firm has not, gotten started with BIM just yet, we can help you to develop a strategy and schedule to prepare for the first project, from obtaining the software to training the key staff members and helping them to set the first project up right for a successful first experience. If you have already gotten a BIM project under your belt, we can help you as well with developing CAD standards and consulting and these other services that are mentioned here. Our mission is really to address and resolve the specific hurdles that your firm faces while integrating this new software into your business, so your firm can become a BIM success story. We believe that it actually is possible to have a successful BIM project for your first project and to set it up correctly ahead of time and have the tools and training and support that you need. I wanted to also point out these are some of our other technology partners. This is a list of some of the other ones that kind of help to supplement our Autodesk solutions. These are useful applications that can interface with Autodesk products and help you save valuable time and effort in producing your deliverables. We'd be glad to talk to you about these and any of the benefits that they can provide, so feel free to reach out to us and ask some questions about it. Lastly, I want to invite you to enter any of the questions that you have on the screen into the chat box. We probably won't be able to actually get to these during the actual webinar, so we don't want to interrupt Lynn, but we will get to them afterwards and have a question and answer session. If you do have any questions afterwards, though, feel free to contact us at the info@microsolresources.com. And as I mentioned before, you will get AIA learning units for this. If you want to email our marketing team at marketing@microsolresources.com afterwards, we can make sure that you receive those. And at that, Lynn, I'm going to hand it over to you. The control will be yours in just a second.
Okay. Let me just go over, here we go. All right, hello everybody, good morning. It's 8 o'clock in the morning for me out in California. A little bit later, you guys are almost at lunchtime if you're on the East Coast. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be focusing on Autodesk 360, which is Autodesk, pretty much our umbrella platform for all of our cloud applications. And I'm going to be kind of going through and explaining to you what's the whole deal with the cloud anyway. And by the time we're done, I'm hoping I can convince you to embrace the cloud because there are so many advantages when you take advantage of the cloud. So my agenda, and I mentioned this just a little bit before, so I'm going to go through the meaning of the cloud, just to make sure you have a firm foundation and it's really clear what I'm talking about. But then everybody talks about the cloud, it can get very confusing as to what that actually means. And then we're going to discuss the three main advantages of using the cloud for you in the design space. I'm going to, kind of briefly go through the different offerings that Autodesk has so that if something, catches your eye, you can look into it in more detail. And then we're going to take a look at, talk a little bit about subscription and what that means to you. All right, let's begin. So about a year ago, Autodesk told me they were going to send me on the road to do a bunch of cloud presentations. And so I did some research because I feel that cloud, just in general, the whole term is very, very confusing, right? For example, we have a point cloud, we have revision clouds, and we have these warm, soft, fuzzy clouds in the sky. And then we have all this software that's supposed to run on the cloud, right? So it's very, very confusing. It actually kind of reminded me, some of you might remember the old Joni Mitchell song, it's cloud illusions I recall, I really don't know clouds at all. So I went into research mode and started reading every single thing I could about the cloud, not just as it relates to Autodesk, but just in general, to try to educate myself so that I can in turn turn around and educate other people. But I know if I don't get it and I don't understand it, I'm not in a position to talk about it to anybody else. So I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but why do we call it a cloud? Have you ever thought about that? Why isn't it the moon or the stars or or a car or whatever? Why do we call it the cloud? Well, I'm going to answer that for you. So in case you guys are ever on Jeopardy, you're going to know the answer. This gentleman right here, John McCarthy, is responsible for us referring to this technology as the cloud. He's actually known as the father of cloud computing. And back in 1961, incidentally, he's a Stanford professor. He passed away about a year ago. He predicted that someday computation would be organized in the same way as a public utility. That still doesn't make any sense as far as the cloud is concerned, but let's take a look. So imagine if you could access software just like you do your utilities. You plug in, as long as you have an internet connection, you could get the software that you needed, and you could use it, right? You could access it. And maybe you would only pay for the amount of software that you were using. That would be an option if you were using the cloud. And that still doesn't answer the question as to why we call it the cloud, right? The reason we call it the cloud is because in the early days of the telephone industry, the network that they would refer to, all the lines going in and out of everybody's homes, that entire network was referred to as a cloud many, many years ago, probably 100 years ago. And so he went ahead and took that reference to the telephony industry and he passed it on to this technology, which he predicted would happen in the future. And so there you go. It's a long answer, though, if you're on Jeopardy. But basically, it's because of John McCarthy. And then for those of you who are die-hard AutoCAD users to the point where you are familiar with the programming languages, this gentleman here is known as the father of artificial intelligence as well, and he's the one who wrote the programming language Lisp. So very interesting individual. And just a long, long time ago, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, he also wrote the very first chess game that you could play against a computer. So he's a very talented individual. I'm sure he's sorely missed at Stanford. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And the reason behind the phrase, the cloud. So what does the cloud really look like? It doesn't look like that, I can promise you. The cloud we're talking about today looks just like that. It's actually a bunch of servers. These servers are housed all over the world. Autodesk has servers, Amazon has servers, and Google has servers all over the world. And we get to use these servers and harness all of their power. So technically, when you fully embrace cloud, just the cloud in general, it wouldn't really matter what kind of computer you were using. You just have to have access to the internet because you're going to let all of these awesome servers do that hard work for you. So we'll talk about that in more detail. But that's what they look like. And I always like to just bring up the very first company that jumped on this whole cloud bandwagon was really Salesforce. And their big motto there is software with big flash through it because you don't ever have to load any software to use Salesforce. It's completely in the cloud, and it was really the first app that lived entirely in the cloud back in 1999. So there's three primary reasons to use the cloud, and we're going to talk about all three of these. So one of the reasons to use the cloud is there's storage and access to data from anywhere because your information will reside up on the cloud. As long as you have an internet connection, you can get to it, and that makes you very, very mobile. And that's usually the one that most people think about. And we've all done, we've all used the cloud in some way. If you've ever taken any photos and you've stored them up on a website, or that would be up on a cloud, you can access those photos anywhere, right? As long as you have the password to get to them, and as long as you have an internet connection. Collaboration, that's, I think from a design standpoint, a really big plus for the cloud in that you can collaborate with people all over the world very easy using the cloud. As long as everybody has an internet connection, you can collaborate with any of them. Very helpful for those of you who have offices all over the world. And then the last one, and this is to me where the real power of the cloud comes in, is the computing aspect. Because we can access those servers and let those servers do the work for us. When you're dealing with large amounts of data, lots and lots of variables, that's very powerful. That's a big deal. If any of you have done a rendering that's taken hours or in some cases days, you could appreciate how much easier it would be to take the information, put it into the cloud, let all of those super duper computers out there do that rendering for you, and then just send you back a link to the final product. Rendering, for example, could go from several days to, several minutes, depending on what type of rendering it is. So it's a huge time saver, and that's a perfect example of where the cloud is very, very valuable. Okay, so I'm going to show you this little video, like it will have itself. I'm going to show you this video. This is like super low tech, but I love it because it does show the three aspects of the cloud, and it's specifically referring to BIM, which I'm sure many of you are involved in, building information modeling. So it's super archaic and super basic, but it definitely gets the point across. So let's go ahead and take a look. So I do like that video, like I said, because it does illustrate those three main objectives behind the cloud in action. So let's start off with the first one. Let's start off with the most obvious one, mobile. I think we all we understand the world of mobile. The younger you are, of course, I think the better you are at that. It is often been said that the workstation of the future is going to look a lot like this, right? Our tablets are becoming more and more powerful. And the tablets today have the same compute power as our computers did 10 years ago. So they're becoming more and more powerful, and more people are, lugging around a tablet instead of a PC, right? So if that's really the case, that brings a mobile aspect into our everyday work life, which can be very, very valuable. And just to kind of illustrate a point, if you take a look at where our next generation is going to be as far as technology and what they accept and what they're familiar with, I thought you might enjoy this YouTube video. I might talk over it just a little bit. It's a little girl using an iPad, not an uncommon thing. And now she's using a magazine and doesn't understand why it doesn't work like her iPad. She's like, I don't want to play with that. That's so boring. And then at some point, she thinks maybe something's broken. Maybe my finger's not working right. It should be working right. And she tries it on herself. Yeah, it's still working. So she's just totally confused. So I think you get the general idea there. If you take a look at where people are spending their money, it's no surprise that, you know, the cell phones top the corner on the market for technology. And then next is tablets, followed by the laptops and then the workstation. So that's not surprising. But I think something we need to keep in mind is that that whole mobility aspect is becoming more and more important in not just in your everyday life, but in your design lives as well. So let's talk a little bit about Autodesk 360. So if I were there in person talking to you, I'd ask you to raise your hand and tell me if you've been up to Autodesk 360. Autodesk 360 is something that's available to everybody. You don't even have to have an Autodesk product. You can go to Autodesk 360. You can get to it a variety of different ways, and you can store your documents in there. You can share your documents with other people, and you can set it up so that it automatically saves any of your drawing files or your Revit files to your Autodesk 360 account without you even thinking about it. I think at the very lowest level, it's an awesome backup system, to tell you honestly. I know that in Autocad and in Revit, when you do a save, you can have it, of course, save it to your local system or to your network, whatever is your protocol at work, and then you can have it also save it to your Autodesk 360 account. Now, once you have your files in your Autodesk 360 account, remember, they are mobile and you can access them from anywhere. So imagine, if you will, you go home, you get sick the next day, but you do need to make a change to a drawing file. You can actually go into your Autodesk 360 account, you can grab that file, make that change, send an email to somebody letting them know what you've done, and then, you know, you can go back to your chicken soup. So it's a great technology. You'll find that if you are on subscription, you get 25 gigabytes of storage space per seat, and if you're not on subscription, you get 5 gigabytes. You can put any type of files up there. I mean, you can put Excel spreadsheets and Word docs and or your grocery list, whatever makes you happy. It's your space to do it as you please. And it's so easy, super, super easy. I'm actually going to show you a little video of going into Autodesk 360 just so you can see what it's like. And then we're going to talk also about Autocad 360. So it should be noted that whenever you go through an open file dialog box in Civil 3D or in Revit or in Autocad, upper left-hand corner, there's always a cloud symbol, and you can always click on that cloud symbol, and you can go to your Autodesk 360 account to open any files that you need to. All right, so let's take a look at this video. So I'm going to Autodesk 360 from Chrome, which I actually highly recommend. It doesn't seem to like Internet Explorer as much as it likes Chrome. And you'll see this is what I've been doing recently. This is, you know, I captured this from my own account. I loaded some files. I downloaded some files. You can upload a document at any type while you're in the Autodesk 360 space. Very easy to do. And this is a list of all my documents. You can see I'm a little disorganized. In the lower left-hand corner, it always shows you how much space you have used of, in my case, 25 gigabytes. So keep an eye on that. Always good to keep an eye on that. And you can be organized. You can organize them in folders. I have many different file types in here. You might have seen that. I had a Revit file. I have a PDF. I had an Inventor file. So let's take a look at what we can do if, for example, I open up the drawing file. Let me just tell you, inside of Autodesk 360, you can't do a lot. You can zoom, you can pan. You can take a look at the properties and the views. You can turn layers on and off. You'll see that happening here in just a second. But if you want to do some real editing, that's not going to happen currently in Autodesk 360. I'm not saying that that technology won't be in there eventually, but right now it's not. So very quickly there, you might have seen it says Edit Online in Autocad 360, which is another cloud application by Autodesk. And this takes you into something that should feel a little bit more like AutoCAD, for those of you who've used AutoCAD in the past. This is very basic. I call this the LT version of AutoCAD LT. Super, super basic. And it lets you do, you know, basic markups and basic drawing. You can do dimensioning. Here I'm doing a revision cloud on the screen. And you can send information to other people about your drawing file. You can send a link to other people. And probably what I think is the most valuable is that you can have more than one person working in the same drawing at the same time. They just have to have an internet connection. So you could technically have people all over the world working inside of one drawing, you know, editing it, marking it up, making comments about it. Very, very powerful technology. Now, right now, we just have this technology for AutoCAD at Autocad 360, which incidentally is a totally free program. We all live free. Sorry, I'm getting choked up. Excuse me. See, I start to cry every time I talk about the cloud. Anyways, but I can assure you that over time, we're going to have more of these types of technologies for the other products as well. You know, I don't know when, but great, great technology. So continuing on, just to talk very, very briefly about Autocad 360, because it's also a cloud app. We've had over 16 million downloads of the product. That's a pretty astonishing number. I know so many corporations who use this. You know, they use it. You can also use it in conjunction with tablets. You know, it could be an iPad, it could be an Android device. But this allows you to take your drawings out into the field, mark them up in the field, and if you have an internet connection, your colleagues back in the office could actually see you making the changes in real time. Very, very powerful, amazing technology. So definitely take a look at AutoCAD 360. The price is right, right? And they keep adding more and more tools to it, and it's just getting smarter and smarter. But that's an example of an application that runs entirely on the cloud. You don't have to download anything. It runs entirely on the cloud. And that means that as they make changes to the software, you don't have to worry about reloading anything. You don't have to worry about upgrading. Those changes will happen automatically on the cloud. You'll just go visit it, and you'll see that things have changed. So it's going to get better and better, and you don't have to worry about reloading any software, which I think is beautiful. Now, for those of you who are on Revit or Inventor or using Navisworks, we have the Autodesk 360 mobile app that's similar to the same concept of AutoCAD 360, allows you to be more mobile with those file types instead of the DWG file type. And then I just kind of put this in here because I think this is the perfect example of, you know, the future. So right now we don't really have it set up so you can run Revit in the cloud or full AutoCAD in the cloud or Civil 3D in the cloud. And we still have to install the computer on our local systems, right, and run it from there. But someday, and I'm really hoping someday, you'll be able to just go to a URL, and there you'll find Revit, and there you'll use Revit, and it will always be updated automatically. You won't have to think about it. And for you, you know, BIM managers and CAD managers, how happy would you be if you never had to install software ever again? Wouldn't you just be super happy? I used to teach classes in a training lab, and I used to have to roll out all that software to all the different classes, and it was terrible. It was awful. So really, really complicated. That would make lives so much easier. And we're not there yet. But we're kind of there. If you take a look at this Revit in the cloud, you download just a very small install, a player onto your system. If you decide you want to try a 30-day trial of Revit, and everything's done on the cloud. So if you want to try it out, you actually log on to the URL they give you, and you get to use Revit in the cloud for 30 days for free. But that, to me, is a cloud app. And someday, I hope that many of our other products will be available the same way. So this is the real key. The cloud is the most valuable for processing large amounts of data with multiple variables. Anything that takes your computer to a crawling halt, the cloud is a better fit. Anything that can take hours, anything that is slow, the cloud is going to speed up and just make better. So if you were to take a look at how much money it costs just to run a regular computer, we're just saying an average computer, or 10,000 seconds, it's about a quarter. Okay? All right? Or you could run 10,000 computers for 1 second for the same amount of money. And if you're doing something that's really compute intensive, you want to go for option B because you're going to get your job done a lot faster. So let me give you an example that has nothing to do with Autodesk. So it's not just Autodesk. And I think this is a great example. It used to be if you were at a crime scene and there was some DNA maybe from the bad guy, you would take it to the crime lab and they would look into it to see if they could find a match in their existing database. The existing database was usually very small. It might have been a database of the city or the county or the state, but rarely went past state lines. So it was a fairly small database. If you think about DNA, one of the most complicated things in the whole entire world, imagine trying to get a match. How long it would take for somebody in a lab to match DNA strings. So it would take weeks and weeks and weeks and maybe months to try to get some type of a map, a match, I should say. So then the FBI came in, and they came up with a system that was all done in the cloud called CODIS. So that you could take your DNA string and you could just put it up into the cloud, and their software would find a match for you. They would do all that work on those super speedy servers, and you would get an answer back, in a very short period of time. So something that literally took weeks could take hours or seconds or minutes, depending on how fast they found the match, right? So, and it also used to be, right, like I said, that the system wasn't smart enough to go across state lines. Now this is a national database. So if the bad guy goes to another state, you actually have a chance of still finding him. So it's really changed the world of crime, really made a big difference. And they're also hoping at some point to, make this more worldwide over time. So that's an example of cloud computing at its finest, I think. So now let's go back to us, back to Autodesk. Let me give you another example. So reality capture is really becoming more and more popular. It's one of those things that requires a lot of computing power, but if you can figure out how to use it, if you can streamline it, it's so powerful. So for those of you who aren't familiar with point clouds, you could take a 3D scanner. You could put that 3D scanner in the room that you're all sitting in right now, wherever you are, and you could have the 3D scanner basically scan the entire room. And it would also scan you if you're sitting in that room. And it would create something known as a point cloud, and I'll show you one of those in just a second. And that point cloud, it could be made up of millions of points or billions of points, depending on what type of scan you took. But as you can imagine, these point clouds could be really, really big. So why would you want a point cloud? Well, you can actually snap to the points on the point cloud and get a very accurate representation of the room very quickly. Instead of, getting out and measuring it yourself, you could use this point cloud to move forward with whatever project you were doing. And there are a lot of companies that do this. So the issue, of course, is the speed element. So Recap is a program that you all get if you buy any of our hero products with speed. It comes with Revit, it comes with Civil 3D and AutoCAD. And it takes those point clouds and it streamlines them and makes them super fast. So then you can bring them into AutoCAD or Revit or Civil 3D, whatever makes you happy, and you can use them and you don't have to go really, really slow. So Recap is amazing. So let's kind of take a look. Let's keep going. So here we have Revit, and this is how most of us start when we're designing. We have a blank sheet of paper. Even though in reality, we're probably not working in a black hole anywhere. There is some type of an environment around us, but we always start with a blank sheet of paper, right? But wouldn't it be nice? Let me see if I can get it good. Wouldn't it be nice if you could take a point cloud and bring it into your environment? Get a real live representation of what you're dealing with. Maybe your job is just to add a wall or a door or something like that, right? It would be so great if you could just bring a point cloud in and reference that point cloud. And that's kind of what you see right there. So with CAD or with BIM, we usually start with a blank sheet of paper, but everything starts with an existing environment, almost everything. So reality capture allows you to design in context and in the long run to make your life much, much easier. So let's take a look at this a little bit more. If you take a look at the progress that Autodesk has made in its product line back in 2013, point clouds, if you brought them into AutoCAD or into Revit, they look like that on the left. They were, basically white. But you can see those are little points. Each point is an XYZ coordinate that was scanned. I can see it, I can visualize it, but it's not nearly as cool as the 2015 products over to the right, which almost looks like a photograph. They're so tight, and they have color added to them, so they're just a little bit more realistic. And I think, okay, I don't think this next one's going to show up because of the way GoToMeeting works, or maybe WebEx works. But on the left, You know, we had maximum of 2 billion points. On the right, we have 25 billion points. So things have changed a lot in our products over the past few years. So do you think 25 billion points would slow you down? Oh, there they are. 20. I was off. I was only off by 5 billion. Do you think that would slow you down? Absolutely slow you down. So let me show you an example of taking that workshop that we were looking at. That's a tech workshop, incidentally, and this is a scan, a 3D scan of that tech workshop. And we're going to actually use it. We're going to create a new wall. We're going to snap to the objects, and incidentally, the object snap, to snap to a point in a point cloud, is the node object snap, in case you've ever wondered what that object snap was for. We're going to put a door in there, all in context, and there it is. And then somehow magically brick was added and some wood to the door, but I think you get the general idea. It is all magic. And then it's always a requirement that we spin it around. So we spin it around for you. All right, so not everybody can afford 3D scanners. There's a whole bunch of you out there rolling your eyes at me like, yeah, right, like I have a 3D scanner, Lynn. But almost everybody has a camera. I know you at least have your phone. So Recap Photo is fairly new. It's available to those of you who are on subscription. You just log on to your Autodesk 360 account and you'll see Recap Photo up there. It allows you to take photos with the camera and put them together to create a 3D model. It's amazing technology, really, really amazing technology. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you. Let's see here. So in this situation, they had a drone that flew over the top of this existing building and took pictures. You probably don't have a drone, but boy, how much fun would it be to expense that? So you can see all the pictures that were taken of this building, and now Recap Photo is going to put those pictures together to create a model. Now look at that. You can see the cameras up in the air there. That is pretty impressive technology. It almost looks like the real thing. So from there, let's say you wanted to add a second floor, you could actually snap to the model and make that happen. I did mention that we spin everything around, right? You can see as it slows down, you can see the actual points. Now, if you tried to do this without Recap, it would be very, very slow. Like I said, Recap really streamlines everything. I think they're going to stop here for a second and actually draw the second floor. When they're done spinning, here we go. And now we're in Autocad. Before we were in Revit. Spin, spin. Get it just the right place. And then move it. And here we go. We're going to add in that second floor. Okay, I think you get the general idea. Maybe. All right, so let's talk about BIM 360. I'm sure many of you are in the AEC industry, and we have a whole group of products that come under the umbrella of BIM 360. BIM 360 comes under the umbrella of Autodesk 360, which is all of our cloud products. And these are products specifically for BIM, for building information modeling. So let's take a look at a few of them. Rendering is probably the most obvious one. If you've ever done a render, as I said, it may take hours, days, weeks. Sometimes I've heard some guys, I always ask in the audience what the longest render is. I had one person tell me it took over a month, and I said, well, I hope it was right after a month. You don't want to have to do that one over again. I mean, this is an actual picture that I took when I was in South Africa at a university. This is just an example of when something's rendering, you don't want anybody to come and mess it up because it takes so long for that rendering to occur. So I just found that kind of amusing. So Autodesk 360, rendering in the cloud, perfect example where if you want to do awesome renderings, you just give the information to the rendering engine. You know, there's a certain amount of information you have to give it. It will take that information, put it up in the cloud, and when it is finished rendering, it will send you a link to the final render. Easy, easy, easy. Does a great job. And the statistics used to be 24 hours, was down to 24 minutes, but I hear that it's even much better than that now. BIM 360 Glue. This one and the next one are my two favorites. BIM 360 Glue is very similar to the concept of Navisworks, except for in this situation, your models reside up on the cloud, and anybody who has an internet connection can get to it. So it supports over 50 different file types. You might be working with a company that uses a different type of modeling engine than what you use. But basically, you can take all the aspects of the model, what the architect did, what the MEP guys did, what the civil guys did, and you can put all of this information together into BIM 360 Glue, and it will put them all together into a final model. And probably the most valuable aspect of BIM 360 Glue is that you can do class detection, so that before you get to the construction phase, you can try to eliminate as many classes as possible, which of course ultimately saves money, which is ultimately a good thing. So let me just go ahead and show you just a quick example of this. So we're going to do some clash detection here. And you can see the results. Remember, red is bad. For some reason, red is always bad. It was bad in elementary school, it's still bad. And then you can send information back to the team members to try to eliminate this. In this case, to the structural guys, right, the steel guys. You guys need to fix that. So this is him coming in and taking a look at what the problem was and trying to help resolve the issue. Okay, so class detection. Imagine if you could make it to the construction phase with no classes. There'd be a party going on for sure. So BIM 360 Glue is available per project. You do have to pay extra money for it. It's a subscription per project. The same with this one as well, BIM 360 Field. BIM 360 Field is perfect for those of you who are in construction, the contractors, etc., because this allows you to take the technology, which so often remains in the trailer, and get it out into the field. Just, amazing statistics about how many construction dollars are wasted. And if we could include more technology, we would hope that we could, get ahead of that and not waste so much money in the construction phase. So 90% of technology, is in here in this trailer in the office, and only 10% somehow magically makes it out to the field. And that's really where BIM 360 Field can help out. It's a mobile app. You can put it on a tablet. Everybody can take it out to the field. Let me just show you an example of it in action. So here we have someone who's gone out. He's taking a look at a pump. He's going to take a picture of it. And then he's also going to find out information about it. He can do checklists. And he can find out model numbers. He can find out how much it costs. He can find out if there's any issues with it. You can also do safety checks within 360 Field. And now he's actually looking at the pump. So the model was also stored in there, so you can take a look at the pump and make sure it was installed properly. So much technology, great technology to have at your fingertips out in the field. Okay, so that's BIM 360 Field, also project-based. InfoWorks 360, this is the newer one of the bunch, and this seems to be the one I hear more people talking about, to be honest. This is for you civil folks, mostly. It allows you to do the conceptual design, to use this in the very early phases of a project, and it is great for winning people over when it comes to proposals. It makes it very simple for you to create some amazing project files to impress people with. So let me just kind of go through here. You can create and manage large-scale infrastructure models using InfoWorks 360. You can start to develop the early design concept. You can do it in context of the actual area that you're going to be building, because it makes it very easy for you to do that. And you can also foster project team collaboration so that, you're all working together, as one team. And this is the biggest deal, I think. You can create the most amazing project proposals. And this is actually where I have heard the biggest, excitement over, is that it makes it really easy for you to create these amazing proposals that just blows, everyone else out of the water, because you've, produced a beautiful, very visual representation of, what your company plans on doing. So very, very powerful. And then we have some others. I'm going to zip through these. Yep, we seem to be doing okay on time. So, of course, it makes complete sense if you want to do any energy analysis. And, of course, we want you to do lots of energy analysis on your building. That BIM 360 allows you to do that, the energy analysis option. These work with cloud credit. And when you buy a suite and you are on subscription, you do get a certain number of cloud credits to cover doing things like energy analysis. Now, this particular example is in the early phase of the building, so you could put up several different ideas as far as the shape of the building or the direction the building is facing or the location of the building, and you would get a full report back with information on which of the buildings would be more efficient. So very powerful. And then, of course, we have structural analysis as well that allows you to take a look at how structurally sound a building is. Same idea, uses up cloud credits to do that. And then PLM 360, this is totally different than anything else I talked about. You know, PLM is not something that anybody likes to talk about. It's probably the most boring topic in the world, but extremely important. So this is a very low-stress PLM, product lifecycle management. It's an acronym you're not familiar with. Very low-stress package that gets you up and running in no time. It's not expensive, you know, certainly not compared to some of the other PLM products out there. It's very mobile, and it's also customizable. And not a lot of cloud apps are customizable, but this is one of them. So if that's something you're looking for, a PLM system, promise me at least take a look at the PLM 360, because I run into quite a few users who absolutely love this. They love it because it's low stress. We always love things that are low stress. So I just thought I'd mention, because it does get a little confusing, cloud credits, as I said, things like rendering, any type of simulation, energy analysis, structural analysis, even they require cloud credits, and that's just a unit of measurement. So like if you decide you're going to sit down and render all day, all night for 10 years, you would run out of cloud credits eventually. So this kind of, it does make you think twice before you just go render happy or whatever it is that you want to do. But you do get quite a few. I think it's like 100 cloud credits when you're on subscription. So you have quite a few to get your job done. And you can, of course, get more if you want them. So let's just talk about Autodesk Subscription just in general, all right? So because there's 3 types of subscription, and I want to make sure it's really clear to you. So most of you out there have probably purchased the Building Design Suite, the Autocad Design Suite, or the Infrastructure Suite. Somewhere there you've purchased one of the suites. And you probably also, because you're with Microsol, I'm sure that they would encourage you strongly to have maintenance subscription. So like every year you pay a fee, and then when the next release of the software comes out, you get it automatically, right? So that's one type of subscription. In fact, let's just go ahead and go to that page so you can see the benefits there while we're talking about it. Very flexible with licensing. If you have a 10-person license and you have 15 people, as long as they're not using it at the same time, you can probably kind of get away with the licensing aspect. And there's some great technical support that we offer up if you have a maintenance subscription. And, of course, you do get more Autodesk 360 Cloud benefits, right, as I mentioned to you before. So that's a maintenance subscription. And most of you probably have that. Most of you have probably done that. It's easy to budget for, and makes a lot of sense. But we're introducing to you something that's fairly new called Desktop Subscription, which is a pay-as-you-go. So let's say you have a project coming on, and you need, I'll just say you need 10 Autocad, just as an example. You can actually just pay as you go. You can say, I want 3 months worth of these 10 Autocad suites. And then you can maybe add 3 more if it turns out that's not enough. Or you can just say, I just want them all for a year. But the nice thing about this is it's a very low cost of entry. You're not buying the whole product. And you certainly don't want to buy the whole product if you're only going to be using these sheets of AutoCAD for a limited amount of time, right? The same would be true of the Building Design Suite. I need 3 more Building Design Suites, but I only need them for 6 months. All of this is available to you at a much lower cost than actually purchasing it. And it's also great because another big positive is that you can usually charge this back to the building owner, right, or whoever is running the project, because it's very obvious that you're only using the software for the project. That's another, it's much more billable, which is always nice. And like I said, you can scale up or scale down. You don't have a lot of risk. Not a lot of money is involved, and that might be the perfect answer for you. So that's a desktop subscription. And then last but not least, some of the cloud items that I showed you require a subscription, and like Field and Glue. So that in that situation, it's on a per project basis. But that's just another example of a subscription that you would sign up for, so you have access to those services whenever you need them. And the good news is that Microsol, who, yay, Partner of the Year, congratulations, that is not easy to get. Very, very excited. I'm not surprised. They're amazing. But I can assure you, if you have any questions about this, if it wasn't clear and you're not exactly sure what the right answer is for you, they're going to help you. They're going to help you out, and they're going to lead you in the right direction. That's why they're Partner of the Year, because they're you can trust them. They do a great job. They're brilliant. So on that note, I'm going to just finish it off and say I really believe that cloud technology is amazing. It's up and coming, and it's not something that you should, shy away from, because it's powerful and it's friendly. And we all love powerful and friendly. It's not difficult to use. I love that. It's easy to access, and you're just going to see more and more of this as time goes on. So on that note, I'm just going to leave you my email address in case anybody wants to drop me a line if you have any questions that were not covered during this presentation. And then I'm also, Scott, are you going to join me back here? Do you have more slides as well?
I am here. Yep. I've got a couple of things I want to go over on our webpage, but yeah, that's it.
Okay, so let me hand it back over. Make presenter. Just give me a second. In the last few days, I've used so many different of these webinar programs. Trying to remember them all is a little challenging. So now you're on.
Yep, I've got it here. Lynn, thank you so much for helping us out today and doing this webinar. We really do appreciate that. For everybody that's attending, I just wanted to point out a few things, mainly on our website. The first one that I'm going to go to here is just basically our main page here, microsolresources.com. Anything you need in terms of software, training, support, anything that we've discussed today, you can go on that website and find out some information. And, of course, feel free to call us or email us, and all of our contact information is on there as well. I do want to point out this next one, which is actually our events page. It's at the top of the page if you actually are just navigating from our website, but this is a live link, so you can actually follow along from here as well. But the events page lists any events that we're doing, whether they are live seminars or whether they're webinars like this, New York, Philadelphia, pretty much everything. So feel free to scroll through this. I did want to point out some at the bottom of the page there that are going to be starting in June. These are what we call our What's New With series. Meaning like the first one starting off what's new with AutoCAD 2015 and AutoCAD Architecture 2015. And then we have what's new with AutoCAD MEP and Revit and Navisworks and so on and so forth. So any of these new 2015 products, and we do this really every year with the new release. So anytime you get a new product, it's a really great way to find out what's new in it and what's changing and how it can help you. So follow along with those. You can learn more about them. You can register directly from the web page there. And the last thing I want to point out is actually our blog. If you're on the front page, again, it's just a little blue link right at the top right corner. But if you go to the blog, we've got lots of people here in the office that are constantly adding new blogs on. And this is really just little quick things that will help you use the products more efficiently. And, if there's a bug that we find, we'll put that on there too. If there's a webinar or something, or this, you can see there's the What's New in 2015, we'll put that on there too. So feel free to peruse through this, and you'll find some really useful and interesting information. And with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I think we are going to have a question and answer session now, so if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to stick around. And we do have Stephen Costa here. He's one of our application specialists. He's going to help out with the questions. And thank you for attending.
Thank you.